right, welcome everybody to another episode of our Puget Systems podcast live Q&A show. This week we're joined by Gabriella K, virtual production artist. I feel maybe my announcement of expert may have been a little too bold, but I'm glad to have you back. We did have a bit of a talk with you back in May, and I'm really excited to hear how things are now. And we're also joined by Kelly, our internal expert in the same sort of like industry and stuff that Gabby plays around in. So I guess just to start off, let's go ahead and give a little intro in case anybody wasn't around for the last time or who don't know who you are and what you do.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gabriela. I go by Feeding Wolves, and I've been doing all-in-engine virtual production with an emphasis on motion capture. And I started out without any experience whatsoever. Up until a year ago, I would have never imagined what I would be doing today. But I'm not going to go into exactly what virtual production is because there's so many different aspects of it. But yeah, I don't know how to continue with that. Let's see. So about a year ago, I was actually still working in hospitality as a bartender and server. I've wanted to be a filmmaker my whole life. And it was not really ever in my mind going to be a reality until I found out about virtual production. And I lost my job due to COVID. And I figured, you know what? If this isn't a good time to fully commit, then I don't know when. So I installed Unreal. I started out with just a little knowledge in Premiere Pro. I had played with some cameras, doing videography, just learning the basics of like audio and lighting. And, I started off with like a T2i 3 years ago, upgraded to like a 1DX. And then I was like, I didn't feel like I was getting close to my dream. So then I discovered Unreal and virtual production. And let me see. So yeah, I don't even know. Like it's been one hell of a ride. Like for anybody who's like, still working in the hospitality and is like, man, I have this dream. I really want to like one day, like, get into film, and I can't afford $100,000 film school. And I don't know like Maya or Motion Builder. I feel like in less than a year, I've spent so much time like using all of this really cool tech, and I've met some amazing people, some amazing companies, and which led me to Puget, building me a computer that now I'm spending like 14-hour days on set in my house. Working on like short films, working on a feature film, like a feature film for like a filmmaker who lives all the way in London. Like I never imagined I'd be where I am today. So I'm so grateful. Yeah, it's always the awkward, like, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that. It comes up often enough in this show that the barrier to entry has been. I mean, there's practically no barrier anymore. Anybody with the gumption, the motivation and drive to learn, in particular, like filmmaking of any sort. There's so many free tools available. There's so much information and education out there available to just anybody. Wow, yeah, and the whole pandemic thing really provided the perfect opportunity. I think it's great. It warms my heart to hear like that kind of stuff. It's super cool. I guess to start off, you said you were working on a feature film with a gentleman in London, right? We'll go ahead and just shout them out. Has Film Studio. I'll post a link in the chat. Were you working with him before you got the system from us, or how did that go?
Okay, so when I first learned about virtual production, with regards to like using Unreal Engine for film, not for making games, I was told, I was like, I'm going to need a PC. I'm going to need like something that's like, that can handle, graphics, and I need a graphics card. I didn't even know what that was. That's how green I was. So someone told me, one of my friends who works in a studio was like, yeah, you'll need like, a powerful PC. And I was like, I want a laptop, So this guy named Alex Barch, who actually recommended I talk to Puget first. He's like, go to Puget Systems. He's like, they'll build you whatever you need. And I was like, yeah, but I need a laptop, you know, like I want a laptop. I'm stuck on this laptop thing. Not that I'm going to go anywhere. So, so he recommended the Razer Studio, which I would say was like, you know, like the first PC that kind of looked like a MacBook Pro. And I was like, oh, okay, I can live with this. And I went on the website and I saw they had Has showing him how he made an entire film in Unreal. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, oh my God, like he's doing it. Like wow, like that is what it looks like. That is what it's supposed to look like. That's what a filmmaker creating something entirely inside of Unreal looks like. And I was like, he looks like like a legend to me right now. He's so far away, so distant. So I started learning Unreal. It took me a few months, and doing it like every single day, just living and breathing it. And then he had a course that he released by it was like, I forget what the course was. It's a course on one of the websites. Oh God, why can't I remember the name? But anyways, I watched this entire course and he talked about his entire workflow. He talked about how he's organized, how he works with actors, character assets. I mean, basically like who he is and what his work ethic is. So I reached out to him. And at that point, I was, just creating little content pieces with the mocap that I was getting from Exens and Manus. And he's like, I was like, I enjoyed this course that you did. And he's like, thank you so much. He's like, I see that you're also, using Unreal and you're doing motion capture. He's like, maybe we should collaborate. And I was like, I'm like super new. Like I've never done this before. I'm like, why don't you test drive me? And I was like, give me a test, give me like a challenge. And if it's good enough, like, okay, I just don't want to promise something I can't deliver. Cause again, I'm like, I'm a baby in this world. So he gave me a test. He's like, okay, I want you to perform 2 characters playing off of each other. And I said, okay. So I got the characters. I streamed in the data live inside of Unreal. I recorded all of this so he could see it. I played the one character and then I played the other character, and it was like something really hard with like hands touching. And I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. So I completed the test and I sent him like the UE asset file. I just sent him like a little file that he can drop into his project. He doesn't have to like import anything. It's already on the characters. There's no extra work. And he's like, this will work. He's like, this will work. He's like, I didn't have to import any FBX. I didn't have to retarget. I didn't have to do anything. He's like, let's do this. And I was like, okay. So that was how we started off. Cool. But I was using a laptop, and this is a guy making a fully animated feature length film. So we started noticing some issues because this thing can only it's only capped at like 60 frames per second. If I'm streaming in like mocap data from Exens into Unreal, my frame rates were dropping to like 15, 20. So we were losing all this data. And standard procedure is you actually have 2 computers. You have the one that streams in the motion capture data into Unreal, and then you have your Unreal station. But I just had a laptop. So we noticed the issues when we were capturing walk cycles that we were trying to slow down. We were noticing like the walk cycles were real kind of like jittery. Oh, okay. So around that time is when I talked to you guys at Puget. I told you, I was like, I have a list of all the softwares I'm running. And it's killing. I'm not able to like deliver the results I need to deliver. And I'm running a bunch of motion capture softwares into Unreal. I'm recording all of it in there. So that is how I met Has. And it's been like a dream come true. He's like the guy I first saw, and I was like, he's like my idol. And now I'm actually like collaborating with him. And with this new workstation, yesterday he's like, I want to see something. I want you to capture this data at like 1/16 of a second, okay, inside of Unreal with Live Link. And I was like, okay. And I streamed it into Unreal, and I was looking at the frame rate. It was like 120 perfect frame rates. I'm looking at the curves of the data. I'm like, this is perfect. Like I'm not losing absolutely any data. And I can play with people like Has now. Like I can actually like, I don't need a $50,000 computer. I can actually like deliver, something for someone that's working on a feature film. This is crazy.
Oh, that's so cool. I love it. Oh, to kind of rewind just a little bit, you mentioned the all of these software packages and stuff that you were using. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Okay, so Unreal is like the main software I use. I don't like that's where I end up. Okay. So what I use is I do full body mocap now. So
Okay.
I've got the Xsense Link suit, okay, which is it's
Fancy.
wireless. It communicates with my computer with a software called MVN Animate. And then I also have the gloves, the Prime 2 gloves from Manus. And in order to get those to work with Xsense is I use Manus Core. So
Okay.
once I open up Manus Core, I calibrate the gloves. Manus Core then is integrated inside of MVN. So MVN is getting the data from Manus Core, okay, and the body data, all right? And then I stream that into Unreal, okay, or I just record my data.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm using Faceware in addition to that. And with Faceware, so I just had the pleasure of testing out their Mark IV HMC. It's like a head cam, and it's completely wireless. So I had the XM suit on, I had the Manus Prime 2 gloves on, and then I had the head cam on. And because it's wireless, um, it communicates with a Key Pro, okay, which is also connected to the computer. And then using a software called Shepherd, I'm able to record the facial motion data. And then I'm also able to stream it inside of Faceware Studio and then stream all of that data inside of Unreal simultaneously while maintaining really, really high frame rates, doing this with metahumans. So there is barely any latency. I'm running like screen recorders. I'm doing like a live Zoom while I'm doing this. I've got like Discord open. I just added the Valve index to my workflow. So now I'll be adding the VR trackers in addition to everything else running on like one computer. And typically, like, and I had told you, Kelly, I was like, you technically need like two computers, like one to run all the motion capture software on, and then one for Unreal. And you're like, no, we can make this work in one computer. And you did. Like you actually did. So I can literally do like the work of two computers in one. And there's so I had to take some notes. Oh, in
Oh yeah.
addition to that, there's more. In addition to that, I'm also now testing out this virtual camera where it's you connect it on your phone and then you just drop a plugin into your project. So while you're streaming in all of this live data, you can actually control a real virtual camera inside of your scene. Live. And this can all be used for like remote multi-user sessions, which means that like multiple people can be inside of the same project. And again, like, no latency. The graphics power, the processing is like insane on this. So yeah, you got me started. So
That's awesome.
oh, and it never heats up. Like this thing is like, cool. It's like I'm in Florida and like my room is cool. It's still cool. So
Oh, I love it. And so I know Kelly, you had a big
Mhm.
hand in figuring out the like what do we get for Gabby
Yep.
to make this all work? How does that work? Like give us walk us through how that sort of process works for like somebody outside. Like
Right. So this really we had to dive into exactly what software was being used and how that software utilizes hardware.
mhm.
In the case of motion capture, pretty much all that stuff is only uses a couple CPU cores at a time,
Oh, okay.
but it wants them to be very, very fast.
Okay.
But then you have so many things going on at the same time that like you need a decent number of cores that are very fast, because there's normally like most CPUs can have one core that goes really fast, but the other
Right.
cores aren't doing anything. But if you make all the cores go fast, then they all kind of slow down a bit to maintain heat and energy draw, and all that kind of stuff. So by looking at exactly what the work is and how those systems are used, was able to like figure out that kind of the Ryzen 9 was the like sweet spot between getting very fast and a number of cores, plus getting as much RAM as we need, the entire latency of the entire system with like how it translates, data from the CPU to the RAM to the hard drive and like moving around the system. Ryzen just kind of has this good sweet spot of that kind of workload, whereas like a Threadripper doesn't have quite as fast moving stuff around at the system, and the CPU cores aren't as fast, but they have a lot more. It was kind of a like, for motion capture, this is exactly what works best.
Cool. Right on. Oh, that's so cool. Just a moment. I was answering a few questions from the chat. They were wondering about the specs of the system, and so I was kind of typing those into the chat, and also shared a link in the chat directly to kind of an overview of the system that we have on our website as well. So for anybody who was wondering about all that, let me see if there were any quick questions that I may have missed. Just people happy to see you. Happy to see you.
Quite a bit better system than I have.
What? No, that's okay. So
I don't do that fancy of things.
Oh, right. So okay, so you had all these kind of issues with the laptop, things not getting the data to where they need to go very as quickly as they should be. I imagine that has changed. You were just saying about how you're running all this extra stuff on just one machine. That's kind of cool. I feel like that's amazing. That's kind of a big shift. If the normal workflow is 2 PCs and now you're able to handle all of this stuff all on one, that's got to save a lot of time, right?
You're going to get me started again. Yeah. Okay. I am so grateful to have this. You have no idea. Like I really realized how lucky I was when I started rendering things out, and I started like recording my data, like my face data inside of Unreal with the MetaHumans. And I was like, I had all of these different softwares open. I was like cleaning it up. I was forgetting I had a bunch of stuff still open. And I was like my workflow was smoother. I was actually getting so much better data. I was no longer worrying about like, maybe I should close Unreal and let my computer cool off for a minute. I remember rendering something out on the laptop with a MetaHuman, and I honestly felt like the computer was going to start melting. Like it was so scary. I was like, I walked away and I was like, oh my God, like this is it. Like, was this render even worth it? So now I'm like, oh, you know what? Like, let me see if I can render it in like 4K. You know what? Let me try 8K. And I was like, maybe I should try 16K. I have to look that one up. I'm pretty sure you can, but nothing. Like it was like the computer was like, okay, like what else? Like what else do you want to do? Like, come on, let's redo that. Didn't you find anything you didn't like in that frame? It's like it's honestly like, for someone like myself who is, I'm not a studio. I can't afford $100,000 film school. I can't afford a monthly subscription to Maya or Motion Builder or anything like that. My workflow is done entirely inside of Unreal. And I'm grateful to be able to use all of this amazing motion capture tech in order to create content inside of Unreal. And I'm still learning. I still have so much I need to learn. And every time I create something new, I'm always incorporating all of the new things I'm learning. But I wouldn't be able to kind of move forward if I didn't have something like this that was specifically made for me. The other thing is I'm able to produce like quality results so that I can continue to work with someone like Has, where he's not like, hey, you know what, like the data is looking kind of bad. Like we might have to like, get a stage or get someone who's got like, something better than you. Like I can literally like spend like 14 hours a day in this room and like work with people like that. And this opportunity is just I never really thought this would ever be possible for me, you know? So I don't even, yeah, I'm just,
Oh no, I love hearing that kind of thing. Man, it really is super cool to. It's like not. I don't want it to be super cheesy or cliche, but like the Cinderella story kind of thing of just the average person is has the tools available to them to do some really incredible things, and it warms my heart. Kelly, I wanted to point out this kind of a short question, but it's in regarding our use of AMD. And before the stream, you had mentioned Threadripper, and so Original 9 on YouTube was asking what is a good use case? Where would we use Threadripper over, say, like the regular Ryzen 9? You had kind of mentioned that before the stream about a particular use there, and I was just curious if we could touch on that a little bit.
So for me, in Unreal Engine specifically, the differentiation between Ryzen and Threadripper would be if you are spending a significant amount of time compiling shaders every day, which tends to be more of the game dev side, because they'll do thousands and thousands of shaders, just constantly redoing them every day, or working with source code or any of that kind of stuff where you need to spend time compiling. Or if you are using one of the other rendering like engines that you can put on top of Unreal Engine, like Octane, or can't remember which ones are the CPU ones right off the top of my head right now. But like if you are doing some of the other rendering package that uses CPU rendering, you'd want to go with Threadripper over Ryzen 9 because you want those extra threads. But if you're doing like focusing more on the art side, on like creating models, animations, environments, that kind of stuff, Ryzen 9 will give you the faster cores you need to do those single threaded things, but still have a good range of cores to be able to do that. Because like everyone that works on Unreal has to recompile shaders all the time. Like it'll just randomly be like, oh yeah, we're going to recompile your shaders today. You're like, great, that's fantastic. But like it takes, on a typical scene, 5 minutes, maybe one time, and then you're done for the day. So like that's not a big deal. But if you're on a 4-core CPU, you could be waiting an hour, and you're just like sitting there waiting for your computer to finish doing its thing so you can start working.
Wow.
And so Threadripper or Ryzen's kind of the sweet spot, and then Threadripper if you want to go more rendering or code compiling.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. I hope that helped out Original 9 a little bit in touching on what they were hoping for. I'm curious for Gabby, I mean, what part of your workflow has kind of changed the most going from the laptop?
I mean, God, where do I start? So okay, first thing is like the graphics card that I had, okay, and the laptop was like it was a good like for me to get started, like from transitioning from like a Mac to a PC and being able to like play inside of Unreal for virtual production. But with this one, it's got an A6000. Like I don't even think like, does that even need a response? Like that's amazing. Like I believe it's like the most professional, like high quality graphics card on the market. I can't believe I'm saying that. I think I even like trained my mom. I was like, you know what this means? I'm like, do you know what this means? She's like, no, I don't. I was like, so that alone is, again, 4K, 8K, no problem, right? I'm like, well, like how high quality can I go? The amount of like processing power that like the scenes that I'm now playing with and just learning with, it doesn't even like miss a beat. I don't have to like turn it off and give it a minute to cool off. You know what else? I no longer have to look at the system requirements when I install something. I'm like, okay. It honestly is like full speed ahead. Like there's nothing holding me back now. Like I say, cool. I want to learn that. I want to test that out. Like I never have to worry about the computer holding me back. It might be like my level of skill. But I would say with all of the stuff that I'm doing, all of the softwares, all of the plugins, everything that I'm running, the computer is like the heart of it all. And it makes sure everything runs smoothly. I don't even know what to say. It's just like, I have a relationship with it, a serious relationship with it at this point. But it's at the studio level. And again, I'm at my house, I'm not at a studio. I don't have an army of people. So I'm able to do like the work of an entire team. Think about I think about this. I think if you were to look at the budget of an entire feature film, is going to be a really insane amount of money. And the amount of money that you're going to spend to like pay people, you know what I mean? So now with this, this workstation and the A6000, I can kind of compete, like depending on how much I am able to learn and how I'm able to like get collaborators to help me. But now I can make a short feature film. I can make a fully length feature film, like look, it has, from home. Like I can like walk the dog, come back and do what I got to do. I don't have to be on set, far away from home. I mean, like my quality of life has actually changed because of it. So yeah.
That's neat it just occurred to me too that we might see a kind of a growth in almost virtual acting, where like a lot of voiceover acting people have like a little recording studio in their closet or whatever to do voiceover stuff. I could see where this might progress to a similar sort of thing for acting. You do all the motion stuff for whatever it is you're working on, and you don't have to go anywhere. I think that's really cool. Yeah. It kind of leads into this question from Max Murray on YouTube. How much full body content could you realistically produce in one day?
How much full body content could I what?
Like captured, like motion captured stuff?
Well, we may need a little bit more specificity there.
Yeah. Like, honestly, like I believe, like, and I've asked Excense this question. Same with the Manus. Same with Faceware. You can basically record all day long. You can do it live, but again, you're going to need a powerful enough workstation. And I'm doing all in engine virtual production, which means that everything I'm doing is going to be like full CGI. Everything is done inside of the engine, but I'm not doing it for games. I'm doing it for filmmaking. Now I am collaborating with other people who are doing mixed reality, who are also, like incorporating, they probably have even like more beasts of workstations than I do. And let's say like I was working with, let's say a studio, and they're like, we want to know, like, can you spend 3 hours, hooked up to a suit, live streaming with high quality data? Now I can. Laptop, no, like it would have like, something horrible would have happened. And even then the data wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't have even like been quality enough. It would have been like, here, let's test this. But I believe you could do it all day long. Like the suit can stay going. I think it's like 16 hours. I think maybe the gloves would need to be plugged in. They would actually have to be plugged in because I don't think they can last 16 hours. And then same with the head cam. However, the head cam, you can like just switch the batteries out.
Nice.
And you can literally do it all day as long as you need to, which is crazy. But you also need to be able to run your graphics card all day long. And the A6000 can do that. So, and the way you guys have built the cooling in this thing, it doesn't even heat up. So, I hope that answered your question.
I know earlier you had mentioned that now you're pulling like 14-hour days working with was that just working with Has, or is that just kind of like your whole day?
No, but in general, like I live and breathe Unreal. Like I'm not an expert, but honestly, like I love it. Like I have to, like my dog is like, hey, I need to be walked and stuff. And I'm like, I might need to go for a walk too. But if I could be in front of this workstation every single day, all day long, I actually do it. Sometimes like life gets in the way and I've got to get groceries. I might need a new chair, okay? Because I spend so much time in front of the computer. I'm like, I need a new chair. But so if anybody has any suggestions, any people that are watching, if you guys have any like tier recommendations, please let me know. But yeah, serious relationship over here.
Yeah, cool. We have another question from YouTube from Kat. Question for Gabby. What were some of the hardships you ran into when first connecting to industry professionals from the beginning of your journey?
Okay, challenges. Confidence. Like I don't speak the language. I don't know how to ask questions. I didn't even understand what virtual production was until like Matt Workman broke it down. He's like, there's 3 types. And then I heard John McInnes explain that like the type of virtual production you use depends on the project and what you're trying to create. So I'm like trying to like rack my brain and I'm like, what am I trying to do here? You know? So trying to figure out where I belonged. My friend Ratha was like, you know, we started out at the same time, not even a year ago. And he was doing mixed reality. He was showing me how to connect 2 Vive base stations with a tracker in order to get camera tracking inside of Unreal. And I'm like, this isn't fun. Like I'm having to do all this stuff. Like, now you want to show me how to do end display. I'm like, I don't like this. So, finding what I did like, I kind of gravitated towards All-in Engine. I was like, I don't want to work with all that crazy software. But also like being new to like motion capture, I didn't know what motion capture was. And just making yourself vulnerable and just saying, I don't know, and not being afraid to ask. Now I have no problem asking people like, hey, what is this? I'm not afraid for them to be like, oh, she doesn't know anything. I'm like, at this point, like anyone who's doing virtual production understands that we're all still learning. Like there is no expert, you know? We're all like, every time you take, and Kat, to answer your question, here's how I would answer that like in 1 sentence. Every step you take up that, you know, that mountain, there's a new problem for you to solve. Okay. So, and that is like the journey of virtual production. Every single day you solve new problems, and you have to want to take that next step. Once you're like, oh my God, I figured this out. Then you're like, all right, let me take a step further. Oh, a new problem that's going to eat up God knows how much time. So you have to like love it so much that every step you take up that mountain, you are prepared. It's not going to be easy, you know, and there's going to be more challenges. Right now, I got the whole hardware challenge out of the way with you guys. There's no hardware issues. Now it's just about like my organizing my time and learning.
I'm curious, what has been the most challenging thing since the hardware part is out of the way? What's been the most challenging thing, I guess, to learn, since that seems to be the biggest part now?
Well, it's finding out what you don't know, you know, like, I really want to learn Niagara. Okay. Which is like the effects, like the VFX inside of Unreal. What other challenges? Honestly, there's so much to learn. I have so much. I have like a list of all the stuff that I really want to learn and all of the stuff that I want to test out, that it's kind of hard to figure out, like, what do I start on first, you know? And the other challenge is finding collaborators, because I don't know how to use Blender. I know how to open it up and like, you know, drop an asset in there, but I don't know how to use like Maya. I don't know how to rig. I don't know how to like, you know, model a character or really like fine tune an environment. So I guess my challenge now isn't just learning, but it's finding collaborators that can save that, you know, that save that time. And I can also like, you know, repay them with whatever they might need, you know, whatever my strengths are. So collaborators. So if anybody's out there that's listening, that's like, you know, a character modeler or an environmental artist or a rigger, you know, that would like to collaborate, like, please reach out.
What's the best way for them to get in touch?
I started a Discord channel and my YouTube channel, and then probably like LinkedIn or Instagram. On LinkedIn, I'm Gabriella Crusanio-Takis. And then on like Instagram and YouTube, I go by Feeding Wolves. And then Facebook, of course, I've got like my personal one on there, which, yeah.
Right on. So, like she said, if you want to dabble, get in touch. Right on.
We need to set up a Gabriella corridor crossover. Get those guys doing something.
They are working on a cool. I'm really excited. Not to get off topic, but I'm really excited for their Dungeons and Dragons mixed reality thing that they're doing. That seems like a really cool thing. That's going to be neat. We have a question from Facebook, which is kind of new. Pan. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. He was wondering how much your motion capture system cost.
Well, here's the thing. I'm European, okay? So I always get like a little uncomfortable to throw numbers around to start giving you pricing. The Xsense Link Suit, okay, with the software, and then the Manus Prime 2 gloves with the software, the Faceware Mark IV, with the software, all together, you could get yourself like, and the computer and everything. Like if I had to just like add everything together, all together, probably like a brand new Toyota 4Runner. Brand new 4Runner, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like can fluctuate dramatically depending on exactly what kind of stuff you want to do, how much stuff you want to do.
Yeah, and I'm over exaggerating, but this is coming from who barely has like a car that's like hanging on its lad. Like anything that I've had the opportunity to invest in has been like in myself and my tools. So again, like Xsense, they have two options. They have the Link, which I believe is 12K, and then they have the Awinda, which I believe is like four-ish. Then there's different software options. So it's not just the hardware, it's also the software that you're purchasing. The Manus Prime 2 gloves are now sold by Xsense as well. And they have some options where you can get like, you can get the software for like a lifetime. I don't really remember because it's kind of new. Faceware, they have some options. They have like the Indie head cam, which uses a GoPro. And then you have like, I think that's like around 5,000. And then they've got like the Mark IV, which don't even get me started how much cost it is. It depends on what you want to create. And at this point, like everything I've invested, I have a small studio. Like I can literally like help. I can do what a small studio does. So it depends on how what you want to make.
And on the hardware side, we kind of went like super high end for your computer because we're looking at getting all the data right the first time. Don't have to do a whole lot of cleanup. We can just capture everything in one shot on one computer. You can go lower. You might start to see some of those like missed frames and kind of stuff. But then if you're willing to put in the work to clean up the animations manually, you can do that. It's just you're trading your time in the long run for the cost up front. And there's a lot of variables. Like you can do a $3,000 Unreal system, $4,000, and have a really good motion capture setup. Especially if you want to like willing to clean up animations, building all that stuff. But if you just want to capture 100% of the frames right the first time, then be able to ship that off, turn around, do another set, like then you start to go up a little higher.
As an example, to replicate Gabby's machine to a T without shipping is around $9,000 US. And like half of that is the A6000. Just to kind of give a perspective. But like Billy said, there's a range there.
And that was mainly because of your use of metahumans and the kind of the quality it was looking for in the final film, that like we wanted to make sure that your system would be able to match everything else. And so if you're not doing that, maybe you're working with DAZ 3D characters or Character Creator 3. They have a little bit lower performance needs because they're lower poly, lower texture characters. You can get away with a cheaper video card. It's a tough question to answer, is how much a system is going to be. Really, the big cost is the suit, the gloves, the face tracking thing. Like if I was to go try to do the face tracking, I don't have an iPhone, so I'd have to go buy an iPhone. That's expensive, and like one of the newer ones that has the LiDAR. So they can get. It just depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
I'd like to add to that because as far as price, because people are like, oh my God, like I can't, like I'm not you, Gabby, like I can't afford all this stuff. And I get it. You know what? Like you asked me a year ago, if I had asked this question a year ago, I would have said the same thing to myself. But again, let's talk about like how much it really costs to make a film. Like I'm doing this to make films, right? Like I want to render out, like now that I have this, I'm no longer like, you know what, like maybe I can pitch my stuff to someone and they can help me make it. I can literally render out like a fully length film from my house. I want to like do mixed reality. I can do pretty much whatever I want now, but I don't need to get like an area Alexa Mini. I don't need to like buy a red Komodo. I can use my virtual camera tool, which literally gives me like, the shots that I want inside of Unreal. I can literally create whatever I want inside of Unreal. And for me, that is a small investment, considering I'm not paying $100,000 for a film school. I mean, that's just for film school, right? And then you think about the equipment that you're gonna spend as a filmmaker. You're gonna buy the bodies, you're gonna buy the lenses, you're gonna buy like that chunk compared to like the big picture is basically saying like, hey, you know what? We can all do it now. Like you look at how much a short indie film would cost. Why not make it with Unreal? Why not make it with like some type of virtual production? So that's where we're at. So if anyone's getting sticker shock, like this is an investment, but like think of how much you would spend on like just a camera body, just a camera body alone, not including like insurances or crew. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to pay my actors. Like my actors, like I am my actors. So yeah, if anybody's like wondering, like I get it, but I've been like serious about doing this my whole life. So for me, the investment is worth it. It's like you get one shot,
And like also remember, if you're out there thinking about getting started, Gabby got started on a laptop. Like the best computer for your project is the one you have. So just try it, like do something and then see where that takes you. If you get into it after a couple months and you're like, this isn't really for me, be glad you didn't spend $10,000 on a new computer and $12,000 on motion capture suit that you're never going to use again. Like get into it, see how it goes, and then see if that investment is worth it to you in the long run.
I like that.
Yeah, and if you're a rigger or like a character model, like we can trade, we can exchange services. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Let's see. Oh, there was a question from Original 9 as well. So you could run that station well with a 3090.
Yeah, we that was the original recommendation, but then that I had was to use a 3090. But then after discussion of exactly the scenes that she was working with and what her goals were, we decided the A6000 for the VRAM and for being able to run as stably for long periods of time. But yeah, 3090 for like just raw computational power, 3090 and A6000 are pretty close. They're within a few percent of each other, as long as you're not exceeding the VRAM. If you exceed the VRAM, then your frame rates drop a lot. And then if you're exceeding the VRAM on an A6000, you're probably doing something wrong.
It's like 48, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's, geez. Oh, wow.
There isn't any way to get higher than that. So
another A6000. You just get another one.
Yeah, Unreal doesn't do that.
Kat had another question, and I think this is a good one. She says, as a woman in this industry, do you feel there were additional steps you had to take to prove yourself during your journey?
As a woman, I don't know how to answer that. That's a tough one because I don't know, like, how does that make me different? If I was a girl or a guy, I don't know how to answer that, Kat, but I think what I would say to that is not just as a woman, but as anybody who's coming into this with no experience whatsoever, no background, like it could be anybody. I made it kind of like to the first few steps of the mountain. Okay. And it's still there. It's still really, really big. There's so much I still need to conquer. But I did get there. And if anybody's like wondering, you know what I mean? Is it possible? I think so. Like I am completely new to this. But I think what helped me was actually, if I like kind of think about it, from Manus has been like incredible. Like they gave me my first shot. You know, they were like, here's your first taste of motion capture. But it was like Katie Joe from Excense who kind of like, like gave me my real first taste of mocap and like really kind of like taught me everything. And I have to say, Kat, I think it's Kat from Baseware. Kat has taught me so much. Oh my God. Like I am like, I can't wait now that I have time to like go through that webinar, that Faceware and Excense did together. It's kind of been like women that have all like really like lifted me up when I needed it. But I can't say anything bad about the guys because like everybody's been so amazing, so I don't know how to answer it as a woman's perspective. I think for anybody who's like, doesn't have a crazy resume and doesn't have like, the film schools and doesn't have any of that, as the background, it's just blank slate, like.
Cool.
I feel like from other industry people I've talked to, there's a stark difference between the big studios and what's kind of happening with virtual production in the independent film space for how women are treated, especially like in the studios, there's still this very toxic masculinity boys club thing. But here in the kind of independent space, everyone's very like receptive to new people, to whatever country you're from, whatever gender. They're just like, oh, you're into this? You want to make things? Cool. I want to make things. I do this thing. You do that. Let's like make things together and like help each other out. And it's just a very different community. It's been really fun to kind of work through.
I've heard about the boys club. I have heard about it. And I think it's kind of like that in a lot of industries in general. I think maybe like working in the food service industry and like just putting up with all the stuff I put up with, I honestly like that stuff doesn't even bother me. Has it held me back so far? It hasn't. So if I encounter a situation where someone's kind of like holding me back because like I'm a girl, I haven't hit that wall yet. But because this is so new and there's not that many of us, I think it's kind of like open season. It's like, like you're lucky if you can find someone who like knows how to build an amazing environment in Unreal. So is it really going to matter if they're like a female or not? I don't really know. I don't know yet, but I've heard stories. And sometimes it's not even from the boys club. Sometimes it's the women, So, yeah, I've learned not to like really pay attention to that stuff, not to care. But if something like that, got in my way, just like every other obstacle, like figure it out.
That's awesome. So I always like to think a little forward. Is there anything that either like hardware or cool tools or anything that are on the horizon or things people are doing that you're really stoked for? Just anything in the future.
Let me see. I just got my first taste of VR. I'm really excited to test out like VR mocap, specifically with the Manus trackers, the new ones.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pipeline I've never learned, so I'm really excited to see that. With still in VR, I really want to see what like a full body and face mocap performance captured inside of Unreal would look like inside of a VR experience. So I'm super excited about that. And I love testing out new tech. Like I love it. Like anything, like I've seen like mocap being captured with a phone. Okay. Anything that's like new tech that I can use inside of Unreal, I'm so excited to try out. So I think that would be it for now. And yeah, anything to do with like Niagara or special effects. Like I'm testing out like this new Ninja Live, Ninja Fluid or something, some really cool effects made by somebody. And just, I guess if I had to say one more thing, it would be someone mentioned to me like D14D, which is like 3D scanning of somebody's face while also capturing motion capture, like also like capturing their face. I thought that was kind of cool, to have like your face scanned while you're capturing mocap. But I'm really happy with what I've got as far as like a facial motion solution. So, but yeah, any kind of new tech, I'm always like kind of obsessed about. If you hear of anything, let me know.
Yeah. I was like to hear about that because I'm not plugged into a lot of these spaces, and so I like hearing it from those who are let's see, called Filter. We've all seen that, called Filter, and the face emoji thing. Oh, you're talking like the animojis like on iPhone and stuff. Sure, I can see that, where it uses the LiDAR from the iPhone and then kind of moves the.
That's like a form of AI, but I mean, like, no, I saw like a phone, like an app that you can do body mocap, with, and it captures your movements, and then you take that data, you put it onto an FBX, and then import it inside of Unreal. Like that's crazy, like.
Yeah.
But yeah, the face emojis is like that face stuff is actually really cool. Like I kind of mess with those sometimes when I'm talking to people.
That's pretty fun. Yeah. Let me see here. I guess we've touched on a lot of the questions that I have, my preloaded questions. Kelly, do you have anything you would like to take?
Well, there was one earlier that someone asked, is it possible to tell a story in Unreal Engine? I'd say very, very much so. Like there is this unprecedented demand for Unreal Engine for video production, filmmaking, people doing web shorts or TV shows or full feature movies, all in Unreal Engine. It's a great way to quickly tell a story without having to worry about the rendering times of your 3D renderer and all that kind of stuff. You just do it in real time.
I like it. And I imagine with Unreal,
free.
there's I was going to say there's with Unreal in particular, there must be plenty of freely available assets and stuff, so where you can make an environment and play around and have your own little pre-done characters and things.
They have Epic has its own marketplace for Unreal Engine that has a lot of free stuff on it, and then every month they have 5 things that they take from the marketplace that were paid and like give away for free for that month, and then they go back to being paid. So like I have a pretty significant library of stuff now that you can get from the marketplace for free. You can get full environments made by Epic or characters. They've released like several of their games that they've produced over the years. They've released like entire assets, like all the characters, all of the environments. So you can just like use that as like a base for something, and lots of free stuff.
Oh, that's neat. Right.
I would I would say also like look up the Epic Games Unreal Engine Vimeo for the fellowships. These are people who are the people whose videos you're going to see, all the short films. This is like 99% of these people's first experience with Unreal. And you see like how you're able to do so much in this one software that you probably would have never been able to do in like such a short period of time that they have this, virtual production fellowship. It's all an engine. And it's, again, this virtual production using Unreal Engine is to make films, is to like tell stories. So yeah, I've seen like people like accomplish it on a Mac. But you kind of look at what people who have like spent maybe a few weeks using Unreal Engine produce, and anyone can do it, like anybody.
Yeah. So Celine Penn expanded a little bit on their question. Is it possible to tell a story in Unreal Engine for first-person viewing? Example, the person who's watching the movie needs to view their own perspective.
Yeah, I've seen some. Basically, you end up packaging it as a game as opposed to like rendering out a movie.
Oh, sure.
And then you can like, I saw one project where a person it wasn't a game. It was like a interactive experience that like the story is happening, but there's like actors in various parts of the environment, and you can, depending on where you go, you pick up different parts of the story. So like your experience is different because each time you go through it, because you're seeing different things each time, like depending on where you go, and you kind of piece together this larger story because you like move to a different spot and listen to this other group of people talk, and then you catch this person's side of the story. And yeah, you can definitely do. That's the thing with Unreal. Like you can render it out, you could make it a game, you can just make it an interactive experience, you could like do whatever you want, really. Like it's moved beyond a game engine to just being a 3D engine for whatever you want to do.
Yeah, that sounds so cool. I would love to experience a movie where like, okay, if I stand here, I'm only catching a part of the story, and then like, oh, I could go over there, and oh, that'd be
deja vu. Actually, like we talked about in the last one where we were talking about VR and stuff, and I'm gonna go ahead and like add to the deja vu, because like I think I quoted someone from Epic who said the only thing holding you back is your imagination. You can totally do that. You can totally do that.
Oh, that would be so cool. Or even maybe change the flow of the movie, so that might be getting a little too expansive, but like
yeah.
How cool. Kevin DeLucia says, Gabriella, I'm really impressed to see what you've done over the past year. Keep up the great work. Love hearing your stories.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin's from Tampa as well. That's awesome. And he works at like one of the biggest LED stages on the East Coast. So thank you.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see. Did I miss any other questions? No, not yet. Man, I'm just gonna repeat. I highly recommend. I just Googled Unreal Engine or Unreal Virtual Production Fellowship or Vimeo Fellowship, and there's so many cool. I'm gonna have to watch some of those clips and stuff. Oh, Solomon's here too. He says hi, Gabby. Good to see you.
Solomon,
you're next. I will be
yes.
We'll be reaching out to you soon, Solomon, to get you on as well. Actually, maybe Gabby, would you want to be there too? Not to put you on the spot.
I will be watching for sure, but Solomon deserves the spotlight. He has earned it.
Cool.
I'll be taking
that'll be fun. This is a good question, and I'm a little surprised I hadn't touched on this to begin with or earlier on. Celine Penn also asks if you want to learn that workflow, where can I learn? So yeah, where would you recommend somebody who's just starting out? Where should they start?
Really good question. Unreal Engine has everything pretty much set for you. They have a learning page. Okay, start with my first hour in Unreal. Okay, and just learn the interface. Just learn how to move around in the software. And then from there, they have a ton of tutorials. And of course, my favorite, YouTube. That's how I learn. And the Jonathan Winbush Unreal Engine course on MoGraph.com. I always recommend that because I was complete noob. Yeah.
It just pasted the link to the online learning courses from Unreal in there. And then you said, Winbush has
MoGraph.com.
MoGraph.
Yeah, Epic has a lot of resources. Epic's kind of both like super well documented and also on some things not very well documented. But it's a lot of stuff that they do have to at least get you started. Once you start getting in some of the deep end, then it starts getting a little murky. But then Gabriela has some good videos on her YouTube. Solomon here in the chat has some great stuff on his YouTube. JS Films on YouTube. Citizen Meta One, which is Matt Workman. He has a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of people. I can go on and on for hours on different.
Me too. I'm like, you got the most ones. JS Films is amazing.
Yeah, and Winbush has a lot of Unreal and video editing. We just had him on a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So I'm trying to Google real fast and get all these links in here. So I got the online learning courses from Unreal in there. I got Jonathan Winbush's YouTube, put JS Films in there. I'm hoping that's the right one.
Definitely.
Oh, yes, Solomon. In there.
No, that's a different JS Films.
Oh, my bad. You can ignore that.
We're rushing.
FILMZ.
Oops. Okay. Let me scrub some of that. Well, I can only delete the Facebook one, so sorry about that. The wrong one. This is what I go for going fast.
Yep.
JS Film with a Z. Let's see. I'm trying to help out as much as I can.
And then there's tons of other people if you're looking at like lighting stuff or what you want to learn exactly in Unreal, because there's a million different ways to go depending on what you kind of like.
Start by installing Unreal. Okay. Start by installing it. If you need a good computer, you know where to go. Yeah, I would honestly, like, I'm just really grateful that you invited me on here, that you guys you listened to what my problems were. You offered a solution, and it's like full speed ahead. You know, I have no excuse not to like do something now. So thank you.
I love it. I especially like the thought that it isn't the hardware that's getting in the way anymore.
No.
Now, like, I mean, you mentioned I don't have to look at the system recs recommendations anymore. I can just install whatever I want, and it just works. The data you're collecting is perfect. You don't have to fiddle or fuss around with any of the Kelly mentioned, like cleaning up animations and things like that. And I feel like that's probably like the biggest impact. And it's like now it's all just learning as much as you can, and that's super cool.
One of the guys from Corridor said, creating at the speed of thought, just being able to create as fast as you're thinking about it, and what you think about is now on your screen.
That's amazing. Yeah, I like that too. Can I get a t-shirt that says that, please?
Right. I don't know how that's not in Corridor's merch store yet. Like, they have everything else.
Creating at the speed of thought.
Yeah.
I think we can make that happen. That'd be a good Puget Systems shirt.
We're gonna steal it. We give them a computer, we get a shirt. It's a fair trade.
I think that's fair. It's not like, yeah, that's cool. I'm doing it. Okay. Well,
the fact that he said that he loves what he's doing, though, you can tell. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That does bring us a little bit over our hour for the day, so we'll wrap it up here. Thank you, Gabby and Kelly, for joining us, taking the time out of your day to share your experiences and your just everything was so cool. I feel really good. There was such a happy and positive experience today. It was really cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and as always, thank you to the audience as well for joining us today. We do this every Wednesday around 1 p.m. Pacific, and we have external experts like Gabby and internal experts like Kelly on every week, talking about tips and tricks of their experiences and giving you guys advice and all of that good stuff. And just, man, we have it's just a good time. Everybody, I love it. I'm so glad that everybody had questions today and that we helped out and provided so much value for everyone. Thank you all. So mark your calendars for that, Wednesdays, 1 p.m. Pacific. And if there's nothing else you guys want to shout out or mention, we'll say goodbye.
All right.
All right. Thanks, you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.